Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm a violin teacher, and today we're going to talk about making a good sound on the violin. While it's important to consider other factors like the quality of your instrument, your strings, or even if you've gotten a bow repair recently, the most important thing to creating a good sound is actually the technique. So here are some things to consider to make a good sound. The first thing to consider is that your bow is straight. So as you're bowing, it doesn't go like this, and it doesn't go like that either. The second thing is that you're not using side of the hair. So sometimes you want that for a different color, but if you want just a general, really good focused sound, you're going to want to try to stay on flat hair, which means it looks like this as opposed to that or that. Last two things to consider is that you've got a balance between the bow weight and the bow speed. So it's different depending on every single string. And the higher strings are going to need a lighter weight and probably a faster speed, as opposed to the lower strings, which require more weight and perhaps a slower speed. For example, if I use a slow bow speed and a lot of weight, it's going to sound like this. But if I use a faster bow speed with a lot of weight, you get something more like that. If I have a light weight and a fast bow speed, it sounds like this. But if it's too fast, you get something a little too hairy. So maybe light but a little slower, something like that. So really it's up to you to experiment with different bow weights and bow speeds so that you can find what's ideal for every single string and every single note that you're playing. So some tips that I like to give people for having a straight bow, and these come straight out of the Galamian's Principles of Violin Playing and Teaching. It's a great book. I think you can find it online. So when you're at the frog, you actually want your elbow to be a triangle. When you're at the middle of the bow, you want your elbow to be like a rectangle or a square. And once you're at the tip of the bow, you kind of want this like half semicircle thing. So as I'm bowing, it kind of morphs as it goes. The other thing I like to tell my students is that you can always record yourself or practice in front of a mirror. It's a really great way to monitor your bow, and honestly I think everybody should start their warm-up routine, especially if you're a beginner, with practicing open strings in front of the mirror every single day. And the more you do that, the faster you're going to get a really good sound, like consistently, and also you're just going to feel more natural and relaxed rather than trying to force the sound. Another tip that I would give for making a good sound is that you want your arm level to be the same when it's on a particular string. So you don't want to drop the elbow or raise it as you're playing one string. This is actually kind of tricky to monitor. I'm still working on this myself. So it's just like, for example, if I'm keeping my arm level, this doesn't change throughout the whole time. Maybe like a little bit maybe up here. So you want to imagine that there's like a big binder or something underneath your elbow. If I'm moving it a lot, then it kind of looks like this. Or something like that. So that's a really hard habit to crash, but if you can start thinking about that from the beginning, you're going to be in a good spot. In general, those are my tips for having a really good sound on the violin. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. So have a great day, and Nugget says, happy practicing!